What is going on, guys? This is DropThisBox, and I hope all of you guys out there are having a fantastic day today. And today I wanted to end off the week by talking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because last week I talked about Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I had a lot of fun when I was doing that video because I just love Final Fantasy VII so much. You guys probably know that already because I put so many videos out on Final Fantasy VII already on the channel. So within this video itself, the reason why I want to talk about Rebirth is mainly because I want to give my overall thoughts on the game, just talk about everything that I loved about the game that makes it a perfect sequel to Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I want to jump into this because I'm just super excited to talk about Rebirth right away. So let's do exactly just that. So when I think about what makes a great sequel, one of the first things that comes to mind is the way it expands the world I loved in the original. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth did this beautifully. We got to explore areas that were just glimpses or ideas in the first game, and seeing these locations brought to life was a dream come true. Like the developers really understood how much the fans wanted to dive deeper into this world. Every new location came with its own rich detail, making it feel alive and connected to the story we've been invested in for decades. Another thing I appreciated was how the game didn't just expand geographically, but also enriched the lore. Rebirth took the time to delve deeper into the history of Gaia, Shinra, and even characters like Sephiroth and Zack. Like every piece of the world had more weight this time around. Like they weren't just telling a story, but building a universe. That level of care really stood out to me. The expanded side quests also helped flesh out the world. In the original, side quests were fun, but sometimes felt like distractions. Here, they were meaningful, whether it was helping townspeople rebuild or uncovering more about the ancient history. Every side quest seemed to serve a purpose. It made the world feel interconnected, like every little action had an impact. And let's not forget the sheer scope of the environments, from lush forests to sprawling deserts and even the bustling new towns. The game felt massive. I found myself constantly stopping to admire the scenery or explore every nook and cranny. It was a kind of immersion that made me feel like I was part of this incredible world, and that's exactly what I wanted from this sequel. The combat system in Rebirth was another idea where the game absolutely nailed it for me. Remake introduced a fresh blend of real-time action and strategic command-based mechanics, but Rebirth took it to another level. The battles felt even smoother and more dynamic, with the new additions gave me so many more options to play with. Whether it was chaining combos, experimenting with new materia, or switching between characters, every fight felt like its own unique puzzle. I also loved how much more involved the characters felt like during combat. Each one had their own distinct playstyle, and it made switching between them so much fun. Cloud's heavy-hitting swordplay felt just as satisfying as ever, but pairing it with Tifa's agile combos or Barrett's range attacks made every battle feel fresh. It wasn't just about grinding or defeating enemies, it was about mastering the flow of combat and feeling like a team. Speaking of team dynamics, the synergy moves they introduced were a game changer. Being able to unleash these cinematic combos with my party members not only looked amazing, but also added an extra layer of strategy. I found myself planning battles around these moves, and when I pulled them off, it was pure satisfaction. It's little things like this that make combat feel rewarding beyond just winning. And the enemies and bosses were better than ever. Each encounter felt thoughtfully designed, with unique mechanics that kept me on my toes. The variety was impressive too. One moment I was fighting a massive machine, and the next I was up against a magic-wielding foe that required a completely different strategy. Made combat exciting and kept me invested from start to finish. If there's one thing I admire about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, it's how bold it was with its story. It didn't just retell the original, it built on it in ways I didn't expect. The game took risks by weaving new elements into the narrative, and while some of them surprised me, they felt like natural extensions of the story. It was as if they were saying, We respect the original, but we're also here to tell something new. One of the most exciting parts of Rebirth was how it developed the characters further. Cloud, Tifa, Barret, and Aerith all had moments that felt more personal and layered. I loved seeing the relationship evolve in ways that felt real and emotional. Those moments were just as impactful, adding a new dimension to the story we thought we knew. The story also left me with plenty of questions, and I mean that in the best way possible. The twists and turns kept me on edge, and even though some things were left unresolved, it didn't feel frustrating. Instead, it felt like the game was setting the stage for something even bigger. That kind of storytelling where you're satisfied but still eager for more is a tricky balance, and they nailed it. Then there's Sephiroth. Seeing him take a more prominent role in this part of the story was everything I hoped for. His presence was always looming in the original, but here, he feels even more dangerous and unpredictable. Every time he appeared, I couldn't look away. It's rare for a villain to command that kind of attention. But Sephiroth absolutely does, and Rebirth gave him the spotlight he deserves. One of the things that stood out to me the most was how much this game felt like a love letter to the fans of the original Final Fantasy VII. There were so many moments where I felt like the developers were speaking directly to us. Whether it was a subtle nod to the original game or a fully reimagined scene that brought back waves of nostalgia. It was clear that Rebirth was made with love and respect for the fans. What really hit home for me were the smaller details. Little things like the music, which seamlessly blended classic tracks with new arrangements, or the hidden Easter eggs that only die-hard fans would recognize. These touches made me feel like the game wasn't just for a new audience, it was for those of us who've been with Final Fantasy VII since the beginning. And at the same time, it didn't feel like the game was leaning too heavy on nostalgia. It struck the perfect balance between honoring the past and moving forward. Rebirth wasn't afraid to surprise us, even if it meant taking some creative liberties. And honestly, those risks paid off. It showed that developers weren't just trying to recreate the original, they were trying to make something that could stand out on its own. And by the end of the game, I felt like my journey with these characters in this world had come full circle, even though there's clearly more to come. It was emotional, satisfying, and left me excited for what's next. That's exactly what I wanted from the sequel, and I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. So it's about time that I made a video on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, just gathering all my thoughts when it comes to how I personally feel about the game. And as you guys can clearly tell, as I was talking throughout this video, I love Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It was probably one of my favorite games to play in 2024. I mean, it was definitely my most anticipated game. Knowing that Rebirth was around the corner around the time, obviously I was going to get super excited to get into that. But now that leaves us one last game of the trilogy that's going to wrap up the remake trilogy. So I am very excited to see exactly where that's going to be leading to. I probably will try to make some sort of videos when it comes to that sort of thing. Like when it comes to the next game in the series, when it comes to the third game. So that should be super fun when we get into that. But yeah, that's all I have to really say for this video. So if you guys have any thoughts of your own that you guys want to share with me when it comes to your own personal experience of Rebirth, be sure to let me know down below. And if you guys enjoy the content on this channel, be sure to like and subscribe, really appreciate it. Be sure to follow me on my X, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. All the links to my social media are located in the description below. Be sure to click on that bell for notifications so you guys are notified whenever I drop a video on the channel. But other than that, I hope all the guys are having a fantastic day, wherever the day may be, if it's the daytime, the nighttime, or the evening. And I'll see you guys in the next video. As always, peace out.